Today we gather to say goodbye to a game that promised us the stars, but fell to earth. Anthem, BioWare's ambitious dream of powered flight and heroic adventure, has been given its final death sentence. January 12th, 2026, that's when the servers go dark forever. But before we let this game fade into digital oblivion, it deserves a proper send-off, because Anthem's story isn't just about failure. It's about broken promises, lost potential, and what happens when ambition meets reality. And its death might just be the wake-up call the entire gaming industry needs. We're gathered here today to mourn the passing of Anthem, born as Project Dylan in 2012, died by corporate execution in 2025. 13 years of life, 7 years of development hell, 6 years struggling to find its purpose, and now, silence. Anthem, you were supposed to be everything. You were going to be BioWare's magnum opus, their destiny killer, their answer to the live service revolution. You promised us seamless flight in powered armor across alien worlds. You showed us that incredible E3 demo in 2017, and for a brief moment, we believed in your dynamic weather systems, your emergent storytelling, your living world that would evolve around us for 10 years. Anthem, you were named after Bob Dylan because your creators wanted you to be referenced for years to come. Well, you will be, but just not in the way they hoped. Today, as your final countdown begins, I want to tell your story properly. Not as the punchline you became, but as the cautionary tale you always were. Because your death isn't just an ending, it's a lesson written in broken code and shattered dreams. Let's start with your conception. In 2012, BioWare was riding high. Mass Effect was a beloved trilogy, Dragon Age was finding its footing, and EA wanted them to create something new, something that could compete in the emerging live service space. The vision, in all honesty, was genuinely inspiring. Imagine Iron Man, but in a BioWare RPG. Players would be freelancers piloting mechanical exosuits called Javelins, venturing beyond the safety of Fort Tarsis into a hostile alien world. The technology that created this world was called the Anthem of Creation. Ancient, mysterious, and dangerous. It was mythology and technology blended into something that should have been magical. Haha, but vision and execution are two very different things, aren't they, Anthem? And this is where your story becomes a masterclass in how everything can go wrong. Your development was plagued by instability from day one. Casey Hudson, the visionary behind Mass Effect, left BioWare in 2014, just 2 years into your development. The team was left rudderless, with no clear direction and competing visions of what you should become. Sounds familiar? Key creative leads came and went like a revolving door, each bringing their own ideas about your identity. EA mandated that you be built on Frostbite, their in-house engine designed for shooters like Battlefield, but you weren't a shooter, were you, Anthem? You were supposed to be an RPG with flight mechanics, an inventory system, and complex character progression. The developers described Frostbite as being full of razor blades. Every basic feature had to be built from scratch. Save systems, third-person cameras, even basic UI elements, none of it existed. What should have taken months took years. Perhaps the most damaging was the toxic belief in something called BioWare magic. The idea that somehow, through sheer force of will and last-minute crunch, everything would just come together. This wasn't magic, Anthem. This was delusion. It led to 7 years of aimless development, followed by 15 months of 90-hour work weeks that broke the people who tried so desperately to save you. Your ambitions exceeded what was technically possible. The seamless world with no loading screens. Impossible on the hardware of the time. The dynamic weather affecting gameplay, too complex for Frostbite. The emergent storytelling system, never actually built. One by one, your most ambitious features were quietly cut, leaving behind a hollow shell of the original vision. Your development suffered from constant scope changes. Were you a narrative-driven RPG, a competitive multiplayer shooter, a co-op PvE experience, a single-player game with optional co-op? The answer changed, depending on which meeting you were in and which executive was speaking at the time. And that was hardly your fault, was it, Anthem? February 22nd, 2019, your launch day. The day we all discovered just how far you had fallen from that E3 demo. The reviews were devastating. PC Gamer gave you a 55 out of 100, calling you a disjointed story, boring loot, repetitive missions, and shallow endgame. IGN wasn't much kinder, were they? They're 6.5 out of 10, but the real judgment, Anthem, came from the players. A user score of 4.0 on Metacritic. 4 out of 10? The technical problems were immediately apparent. You were crashing PlayStation 4 consoles so severely that some players couldn't restart their systems. Sony, who never gives refunds, started offering no questions asked refunds for you. That should have been the first sign that something was catastrophically wrong. Your loading screens became a meme. Remember those seamless transitions from the E3 demo? In the final game, we spent more time looking at loading screens than actually playing. Fort Tarsis, your social hub, became a single-player walking simulator. The flying, your signature feature, was limited by arbitrary overheat timers that felt like shackles on freedom. The loot system, the core of any looter shooter, was fundamentally broken. But were you supposed to even be a looter shooter, Anthem? No one knows. Players could spend hours in strongholds only to receive nothing of value. Your endgame consisted of 3 strongholds and some forgettable contracts for a game promising years of content. You launched with maybe 20 hours of meaningful gameplay. Within months, your player count collapsed. Xbox tracking showed fewer than 2,500 concurrent players by April 2019. And for context, that's fewer people than were playing Fallout 76, a game that was being universally mocked at the time. Your subreddit became a graveyard of disappointed fans and how to fix Anthem posts that would never be implemented. But you tried, didn't you, Anthem? You tried to fight back. In February of 2020, BioWare announced Anthem Next, a complete overhaul that would rebuild you from the ground up. For a moment, hope flickered back to life. A small team of about 30 developers, led by Christian Daly, began the monumental task of fixing what 7 years of development had broken. They showed us glimpses: improved loot systems, better progression, reworked combat mechanics. The October 2020 blog post suggested you might actually become the game that you were always meant to be. But hope is fragile, Anthem, and corporate priorities are stronger than developer passion. COVID-19 hit, resources became scarce, and EA decided that Dragon Age 4 and Mass Effect needed those developers more than you did. On February 24th, 2021, the axe fell. Anthem Next had been canceled. No fanfare, no explanation, just over. That was your second death, Anthem. The first death was your launch failure. But you did linger on for 4 more years, a ghost in the machine servers, humming with the presence of about 14,000 maybe daily players who still believed in you despite everything, and I'm not convinced that 14,000 daily player number is correct. But now we come to the final announcement, which reads, after careful consideration, we will be sunsetting Anthem on January 12th, 2026. No refunds, no offline mode, no preservation of any kind, just nothing. Your remaining community, that small, dedicated group of players who found beauty in your broken systems, are heartbroken. They're sharing screenshots of their javelins, remembering their favorite moments, saying goodbye to friendships formed in your flawed world. I've loved everything in the game, one player wrote, starting from the story and flying to combos end game, and the community, especially the community, the people are really nice, and we've all bonded quite fast. End quote. That community will die with you, Anthem. Those bonds, those memories, those shared experiences, all will be extinguished when your servers go dark. So what can we learn from your tragic story, Anthem? What hard-earned wisdom can we extract from your 13 years of ambitious failure? The first would be vision without leadership is chaos. Your lack of consistent creative direction doomed you from the start. Great games need visionaries who can see the project through from conception to completion. When that vision changes every year, failure is inevitable. Lesson 2 would be technical ambition must match technical reality. Your dreams exceeded what was technically possible with the tools and the timeline that you had. No desire to build anything new in order to meet those technical requirements. Promising seamless worlds and dynamic systems without first proving they could be built was setting up both developers and players for disappointment. And lesson 3, crunch culture destroys creativity. The BioWare magic that supposedly saved projects through last-minute heroics was actually destroying the people who made those projects. Sustainable development practices aren't just morally right, they produce better games. You could have been better, Anthem. Lesson 4, live service promises are dangerous. Selling a game on the promise of years of future content is inherently risky. When those promises can't be kept, the betrayal runs deeper than a simple bad game. It becomes a broken trust between developer and player. But perhaps the most important lesson, Anthem, is this. Games are more than products. They're cultural artifacts, shared experiences, and communities built around virtual worlds. When you die on January 12th, you're not just taking code with you. You're destroying a piece of gaming history. A pathetic one at that, but a piece of gaming history. And this brings us to why your death matters beyond just your own story, Anthem. You're not the first game to be executed by corporate decision, and you won't be the last. Future players could have experienced your world, your disaster, and your mistakes. But instead, you'll just disappear. So here we are, Anthem, your final months stretching out before you like a countdown timer to oblivion. January 12th, 2026. Mark your calendars, everyone. That's when one of gaming's most ambitious failures finally breathes its last. You were supposed to be everything, and you became a cautionary tale instead. You were supposed to soar, and you crashed and burned. You were supposed to unite us in adventure, and you left us divided between disappointment and sympathy. But you know what? Despite everything, despite the broken promises, the technical disasters, the corporate mismanagement, some people still loved you. And that matters. In your broken, flawed, frustrating way, you brought joy to some players. You created moments of genuine wonders. When the flight mechanics worked, when the combat clicked, when the world felt alive, some people did love you. So rest in peace, Anthem. May your digital grave serve as a reminder of what happens when ambition meets poor execution, and may your death inspire the changes needed to preserve the games that come after you. To your remaining more anthems will we lose to corporate indifference. Maybe the next one will actually be a good game. The servers will go dark on January 12th, 2026, but the lessons of Anthem should live on forever. Fly strong, freelancers, one last time. Anyway, thank you for listening to my goofy eulogy to a crappy game. Let me know in the comments, are you someone that liked Anthem? Was Anthem something you were excited for, but then disappointed with? Yeah, anyway, thank you so much for your time and for watching this video. I hope you have a fantastic day. Peace out.